anything about Hebes? Do you know where they come from?
New Zealand?
Correct. So Hebes are endemic to New Zealand and the islands surrounding, apart from two varieties, Hebe elliptica and Hebe salicifolia. They both naturally grow on the southern tip of Chile and in the Falkland Islands as well. So obviously once upon a time the landmass was all linked. But we keep getting asked about pruning Hebes. And obviously there's so many different types of Hebe. This is a whipcord Hebe, resembles a conifer. It will have tiny little white flowers, inconspicuous flowers. They don't grow very tall, but they're the smallest leaf Hebes out there. And I'm sure you all know this one. You see it everywhere, Sainsbury's car parks, makes a hummock. This is Hebe topiaria, the topiarist's Hebe. Makes a tight mound, small leaves, seen absolutely everywhere. Then you get to the larger leaf Hebes. It's leggy for a reason. It's going to get pruned in a minute. And Hebes come from New Zealand. If you imagine the two islands in New Zealand, North Island is not tropical, but it's warm. Go all the way down through South Island, it gets colder as you go down. So rough rule of thumb with Hebes, the bigger the leaf, the further north it comes from, the more tender it is as well. So as you go down through South Island, the leaves get smaller and smaller, especially as you go up the mountains, and they also change colour as well. All of the grey leaf Hebes come from South Island, from the mountainous areas. Makes them hardy, makes them salt tolerant. Planting conditions, they love full sun, really good drainage, so sand, gravel is perfect. You do get one or two varieties which will grow in wet soil, in clay. One or two do actually grow with the feet in streams, in the valleys. They must be protected from cold northeast winds. Otherwise, as long as they're in sun or get some natural sunlight during the day, they're absolutely fine. But pruning, always being asked about pruning Hebes. You have different coloured wood. You have this old grey wood. If you cut down into there, it probably won't regrow. If it does, you're very, very lucky and it will take a long time. You could be looking at 5 to 6 years before it actually starts to make a decent sized bud. As you go further up, you'll notice these lines on the stems, these horizontal lines, they are all potential growth points. But when you prune an old leggy Hebe, and there's quite a few of them out there, well, with any Hebe, sorry, the first step, with any Hebe, light trim after flowering, keeps it in shape, keeps it looking young. So if it flowers up there, you would literally just trim just below those spent flower heads. But if you've got to renovate an old plant, well, this one, I'll do that. Bit brutal, but say still green. Everything there will regrow, I can guarantee that with them, but that is a young plant. And the added bonus is when you prune, you can take cuttings. So the large leaf Hebe, it's literally that. Put it in the compost, just below the bottom leaves. If the bottom leaves touch the compost, it will rot off. That in compost on a windowsill or in a greenhouse. Don't need any hormone, powder or liquid, no fancy system, propagating systems. 2 weeks time that'll have rooted. And all I tend to do when it roots, and not before, is just pinch the growing tip out. I find if you leave the growing tip when you take the cutting, it's a good indication that it's rooted as it starts growing. Then you get to the smaller leaf Hebes, they're a bit more tricky. Pruning wise, right, this one's fairly good, fairly healthy because it's got lots of shoots growing from down below. Again, it's a young plant. These make a tight hummock, a tight ball. When you open them, if they get too big, and you open the plant up and look inside, it will be completely brown inside. If you cut back into that old wood, it probably won't recover. So with these, all you literally do, imagine it's flowered, over the whole bush, you give it a light trim. And you do that every year with a pair of shears or a really small hedge trimmer after flowering, literally over the whole bush. Let's take cuttings of this. You're really looking for young shoots. Here's one I prepared earlier. You've got the nice new grey stems and a bit of brown, greeny brown stem. You don't want to go back into the old grey wood, they will not root. I've tried and failed many times. These are a bit more fiddly. The smaller the leaf, the easier it is to snap the stem. That's strip about half the leaves off again and treat it exactly the same as a larger leaf Hebe. In the compost, just below the bottom leaves. They can take a little bit longer, up to a month to root, but they will. But when you get to the wet cords, you look in, you don't really need to prune these at all. They're just going to do what they want to do. This one's actually unnamed. We haven't worked out which variety this is, which species this is. I don't even take the old dead wood out. There's just no need because they're just so easy, you just leave them. Same again. Cut in about that long. Put them down, these are fiddly. Quickest way is with your finger and thumbnail, very gently, is just to try and peel off all these tiny little scales. Don't think of them as leaves, think of them as scales. And it's exactly the same again, and that will root within 2 to 3 weeks. Feeding wise, they don't need anything in the garden. Watering, they don't really need much. I mean, they're virtually bomb-proof. The problem with most evergreen plants, not just Hebes or New Zealand plants, but all evergreen plants, if they're too dry, the leaves will go yellow in the middle. If they're too wet, the leaves will go yellow in the middle. You have to decide.
It's always the hardest.
Yeah, you have to work out, try and understand what the plant's going through. But Hebe, named after the goddess of youth, for that particular reason. If they get too old and leggy, give them a light trim, and they'll come back beautiful. Have you got any questions?
Is that a whipcord?
That's a whipcord, yeah.
Is that just sort of self-shed? Like it's coming off and stuff? You don't really prune it?
No. It's been... If this was in the garden, in the ground, you wouldn't see any of this anyway.
Oh.
And it wouldn't be all one-sided, it would be a nice shape. I mean, this came from a collection that we have up in an arboretum up in Cheshire, at the Lovell Quinter Arboretum. We've got some display beds there.